And welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining in today. In today's class, we're going to go over shoulder and hips strengthening as well as stretching. So let's get started. If you have a block at home, you can grab that, keep it handy, grab your bottle of water, and let's begin the practice by coming onto all fours. It's one of the first days that was really nice, so I couldn't resist being in the sun. Coming into Vajrasana, sitting on your shins. If that's uncomfortable, grab your block and you can separate your knees and your feet about hip width distance apart and let the block fit in between, letting your seat rest on the block. Finding comfort here, letting your tailbone lengthen down, keep that low belly pulled in, sitting up nice and tall. Inhale, reach the arms overhead. Take the gaze up. Breathing here, and exhale to bring the hands down. From here, coming into cactus arms, lift the arms about shoulder height. And exhale, twisting over to the right side. Keep that spine long. Inhale, come back to center. And as you exhale from here, twisting over to your left side. Try to keep the arms in the same alignment. Nice deep breaths. Inhale, come back. And exhale. From here, turning your arms down so your arm bones are rotating internally. Take an inhale, lengthen. Exhale, twisting. Try to keep the shoulders relaxed and away from the ears. Inhale, come back. Exhale, twisting to your left. Look to keep the head on top of the spine, not letting your body go out of alignment. From here, let's bring the elbows and the palms together. Take an inhale, lift, and exhale, rounding into your spine. Think cat and cow here. As you breathe in, lift the arms, separating across your upper back, and exhale, rounding into your spine. And letting your hands rest. And you can do a little bit of freestyle movement here, taking your time as you open up in the chest. Feeling your shoulders moving. If you've been sitting down, you might have some tension that has built up in your upper and mid back and your lower back as well. So just move here with your breath. Let your breath move you. Inhale to find your back bend, lift the chest. Exhale to a rounded back. And coming out from here, making our way onto all fours, setting up into a tabletop. And working on shoulder retraction and protraction here. So notice the arms are staying straight. On the exhale, you let your chest collapse and feel the length of your shoulder blades come together. On the inhale, we lift from here. Keep your drishti, your point of focus, going ahead, not bending the elbows, arms stay straight. Exhale, drop the chest. Inhale, lift and separate the shoulder blades. When your scapula or your shoulder blades come together, that's retraction, and when they separate, that's protraction. So take your time moving through this range of motion. Let it feel comfortable. And then adding in some rotations for your shoulders and the hips. Feel the weight shifting out of your wrist into the different parts of the hand, into the fingers, taking your circles in both directions. Letting your thigh bones rotate as well as your shoulders. Coming back towards center, going a little side to side. Just take your time, invite movement into your body that feels good. From here, stepping your feet back, coming into a high plank shape, shoulders above your wrists, heels over toes, protract the shoulder blades, lower the knees down, keep that low belly pulled in, core is active, and exhale, bend the elbows as you lower your body onto the mat. Point the toes, elbows above the wrists, and let's straighten the arms from here. And working on shoulder and arm bone rotation. From here, I'd like you to lift the heads of the shoulders off the mat and squeeze the shoulder blades together. And then exhale, let the arms relax. Find a rhythm that works for you here. Squeezing your shoulder blades together, retracting them, and then letting them release as your shoulders come back on the mat. And everything else in the body staying still, just isolating the movement in the arm bones, lifting and lowering. From here, interlace the fingers together behind the back, straighten out the arms. Let's find a back bend here, lifting your chest, your chin off the mat. Pushing down through your toes. If you like, you can lift the legs as well. If you find this to be too intense, you can grab opposite elbows or continue with your arms straightening, squeezing your palms together to strengthen your forearms, and release. Bring your hands by the ribs, curl your toes, elbows above the wrists. Let's pull the low belly off the mat. And then rising up from here, coming into a supported plank, and then transition tabletop. Inhale, lift the right arm up. Exhale, let's reach the arm across from underneath your left armpit. Inhale, open across the wingspan, reach up. Exhale, reach the hand as far across as you can. Inhale, lift and reach. And exhale. Let's continue that motion, letting your head and the back of the arm rest on the mat. Look to keep your hips stacking above the knees, not letting your hips go out of alignment. Maybe walking that left hand towards the top of your mat, getting that stretch to the side body, or maybe lifting your left hand up and bringing it around the back into a half bind, and using that bind to help open the left shoulder, let it stack above the right. Wherever you are, stay breathing, reaching your left arm up, bring that hand down on the inhale, rising up from here, open the side body, reaching up with your right hand. And exhale to bring that hand back, coming into your tabletop, recalibrate, make any adjustments as needed. Inhale, lifting your left arm up, and exhale, reach across the body. Inhale, and exhale. Inhale, reaching, and exhale. Taking your time as you release your left arm onto the mat. Hips stay stacked over the knees. And then choosing the option on this side that feels best for you. Remember, you can keep your right hand on the mat as well the entire time. You don't have to lift it off. Twisting through your torso, keeping the hips and the pelvis facing forward. Right arm reaches up, and as you exhale, lifting off from here. Pushing into your toes, or pushing into the tops of the feet. Lower down onto your forearms. Elbows underneath the shoulders. We're going to begin to lift the knees and the hips off the mat, looking from underneath your legs and lower. If that's uncomfortable, you can have your toe mounts pressing down to the mat. Looking to lift from here, engaging from the low belly and releasing. And let's continue with that motion here, finding strength, rising from here, stepping your feet to the back of the mat, finding your way to a high plank. Chaturanga from here. As you exhale, bend the elbows, releasing your body down to the mat, point the toes. Taking the arms beside you, lifting up on the inhale, straighten the arms, and exhale, bend the elbows, shoulder blades come together. Inhale, lifting, looking to your right, coming back, and bend the right elbow. Inhale, back center, and exhale, coming down from here. Inhale, up, looking to your left, and exhale, coming down, dropping the left shoulder, looking to the right. Inhale, center. Exhale, down center. Inhale, coming up, look to the right, and dropping the right shoulder. Inhale, coming up and looking to your left. As you exhale, coming down and dropping the left shoulder, looking to your right. Inhale, coming up center, and exhale, releasing out of the pose. Walking the hands by the ribs, elbows above the wrists, curl the toes. Lift the knees, lift the lower belly off the mat. And let's transition from here, coming into a high plank. Keep the gaze ahead, coming into a protracted plank. If you like, you can go a little bit further and lift the hips even higher. Notice the shoulders continue to stay on top of the wrists. We're just looking to engage the belly a little further and lift the hips. That protracted plank, coming onto your tippy toes. And let's come back into downward facing dog with your hips. Pedal the feet, reaching the heels down one at a time. Feeling your fingers spreading on the mat, palms flattening, pushing the earth away. And then from here, getting ready for a high plank to chaturanga transition with your knees on the mat or off the mat, always your choice. Make sure you're coming down with control. Inhale, come into your back bend, lift the chest, maybe the knees come off for up dog or stay on the mat for cobra, your choice throughout. And exhale, come into downward facing dog. Inhale, right leg lifts. Exhale, swing that leg forward, bringing the foot down between the hands, setting up into a lunge with your fingers reaching back behind the body. Look to lift your lower belly off, reaching up with the arms, coming into a high lunge. Bending your elbows, palms together, lifting in the chest. Cactus arms from here, squeezing your shoulder blades. Rotate the arm bones externally, elbows lifting out, and then reaching the arms beside you into a big wide T. Lift the arms up, right arm crossing above the left, choosing your eagle bind variation, maybe the back of the hands or your palms touch. If that's uncomfortable, grab opposite shoulders. Lift the elbows away from the body, protracting your shoulder blades, and then stepping that back foot to the top of the mat, maybe in a couple of steps, maybe in one step, your choice. If you wish to go further from here, let's lift that left leg from Utkatasana, cross it above your right thigh. Squeeze the inner thighs together. See if you can lean back through your torso, maybe using your toes for balance, and then coming out on the exhale, forward fold. Come up halfway on the inhale. Plant the palms. Let's make our way from here, stepping your feet back into a plank, setting up for your transition. You can always skip chaturanga if you like. If you're hopping back, make sure that when you land, the elbows are bent at 90 and you're landing in the lower position for chaturanga. Inhale, rising up, lift the chest, lift the knees if you like. Exhale, send the hips up and back, coming into downward dog. From here, inhale, lift the left leg up. And as you exhale, stepping the foot down between the hands, setting up into that low lunge, fingers reaching back behind you. Rotate the arm bones, keeping your chin slightly tucked in. Low belly pulls in, back leg strong. Inhale, lift the arms from here into a high lunge. You can always drop the back knee if you wish to. Bend the elbows. Keep the elbows close to your body. Lifting in the chest while reaching your tailbone down. Think about pushing your pelvis forward. Inhale, straighten the arms, coming into cactus arms. Squeezing your shoulder blades. Rotate the arm bones and then reach the arms. Open across that wingspan. Breathe into the space. Inhale, lift the arms. Eagle bind for your arms. Left arm crossing above the right. Choosing your eagle bind variation here. Try and take your forearms away from the face. Getting ready for that transition, the back foot stepping to the top of the mat, taking your time to make that transition. Once you're there, big toes touch, heels apart, sitting into a chair, Utkatasana. Maybe the right leg lifts and crosses above the left. Squeeze the inner thighs. Reaching down through your tailbone, pulling in from the low belly. Let's get as upright in the torso as possible. Releasing out on the exhale and folding forward. And letting your torso be heavy here. You can grab the back of your arms, maybe rocking side to side. And let the weight shift into your toes. Come up halfway on the inhale. Exhale. Rising up on the next breath in. And let's add a standing back bend. Pull the low belly in, lift the chest. Reaching back with your fingers. The more you bend back, the more the bend the knees forward. Inhale, come back. And exhale, releasing down to a forward bend, Uttanasana. And letting your spine decompress, maybe nodding your head back and forth, maybe shaking it side to side. Releasing the weight of the arms, the head, and the torso. And then coming back on the inhale, flat back. Exhale, plant the palms. Inhale, rising up. And exhale, bring the hands down through chest center. Standing with the big toes together. Heels slightly apart. Let's lift the arms as you inhale, sitting into a chair, Utkatasana. Bring the palms together. And from here, make sure your knees are not passing your toes. The weight is in the heels, cactus arms. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, twisting. Make sure the left knee is not slipping past the right. Keep that tailbone reaching down, low belly pulls in. Inhale, come back. Exhale, folding. Come up halfway, inhale. Planting your palms. And choosing your own transitions to downward dog. You can always skip chaturanga as well if you like, if you're starting to get a little bit tired. Remember, it's a home practice. If you want to stay a little while longer in a particular shape, you can totally do that. Inhale, lift the right leg, bend the knee, and begin to rotate that hip and stack it over the left. Keep the shoulders next to each other. Inhale, square the hips. And as you exhale, stepping that foot down between the hands, ground the back knee. Both hands coming on the inside of the right foot. Exhale, lower down. Inhale, lift. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale, come back. Keep the shoulder blades separate. Let's take that right foot to the edge of the mat, point the toes 45, and let the knees start opening out to the side. You can place a bit of gentle pressure with your right hand on the inner thigh. Make sure the knee and the toes are pointing in the same direction. If you want to go down onto your forearms, you can totally do that. Continue applying that gentle pressure on the inner thigh to get that opening to go a little further. Maybe with your elbows on the mat, you can grab a block. Maybe pick up the back knee if you want to add some strength. There's also a quad opener if you want to go for a quad stretch, picking up the back foot and then pulling the heel towards you. So lots of options. Take the ones that work for you. Always listen to your body, listen to your breath. And then coming out of the pose, bringing that knee back into center, walk the foot to midline of your mat. Picking up the back knee, setting up into a runner's lunge, and then lift the arms overhead, high lunge. Twisting in the torso, revolved warrior 2, palms come together. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, twist. Left arm pressing into your right thigh. Activate the back leg or ground the knee if you like, pulling the shoulders away from the ears. Coming out from the pose as you exhale, stepping back, maybe keeping that leg lifted for your transition. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, rise up, lift the chest. Exhale, send the hips up and back, downward facing dog. Inhale, left leg lifts, bend the knee, rotate the hip, and feel that hip opening to the side. Keep the shoulders next to each other. Lifting your left knee higher. Inhale, square the hips, and exhale, step that foot. Ground the back knee, both hands coming on the inside of the foot. If you want to, you can pick up the back knee or keep it grounded, totally your choice, moving with the breath. Exhale, lower. Look to come a little deeper towards the mat each time. Taking that foot over to the left edge of the mat, pointing the toes 45 degrees. And then finding your hip opener, choosing your variation, one that feels good. You want to let your pelvis come closer to the ground. If you're picking up the back knee, really reach with the heel so you can keep that leg nice and strong. Quad opener on this side, pulling the heel towards you. Bottom hand strong, helping you twist while keeping your pelvis moving forward. Breathing into your stretch. Going a little deeper if you can. And then releasing out of the pose. Picking up that knee, walking the foot back to center, runner's lunge. And then getting ready for a high lunge. Take your time stabilizing. Scissor into the hips. Twist the torso. And really pushing back through your right heel so that leg stays active. The top hand pressing into the bottom hand and that arm pressing against the leg, going deeper into your twist. Releasing on the exhale, palms on the mat, stepping back. Choosing your transition, lower down, exhale. Inhale, back bend. Exhale, lift the hips. Let's lift the right leg as you inhale. We're going to rotate that hip. Getting some mobility going for your hip joint. Keep the circles as wide and smooth as you can. Switching up the direction. Lifting up on the inhale, bring the knee down on the exhale. And from here, setting up for a pigeon. Let's bring the ankle behind the left wrist, the knee behind the right wrist, checking in with your back leg. Make sure the ankle, knee, and hip is in a straight line, pointing your back toes, finding comfort here. Take your time to find the alignment, equal weight on your hips, and then lower down onto your forearms, going as deep in this pose as you want to. And if you find that there's discomfort in your knee at all, you can choose to come onto your back and do figure four instead, crossing your right shin over the left thigh. Pull the leg towards you. If you want to go a little deeper, you can grab hold of your shin, making sure your ankle and toe stays flexed. You're protecting your knee from sideways pressure as you pull the knee towards you, using that right elbow to help open the hip further from you. So you're still getting that external rotation for the hip without putting weight on the joint. So you can totally stay in that option if you find that there's discomfort or there's any pain at all in your knee. If you're feeling okay and you're fine in your pigeon, you can choose to come down onto your forehead, getting as comfortable. Again, taking your time in this pose. Anytime we work with the hips, you want to slow down a little bit, especially if you're doing this at home. If you find that one side feels a little tighter than the other, I typically spend just a little bit more time on the side that feels tighter for my body. If you'd like to add in any variations from here, since we're working on some of that quad stretching, you can pick up that back foot and pull the heel towards you. And when you do this, be mindful of what your lower back is doing and your hips. You want to have your lower back stay as neutral as possible, still letting your hips face forward, and then pulling the heel as close to the body as is comfortable. If you want to pick up that right hand, reach it behind you for the full expression of this pose, you can totally take that option and go as far as you want to. And then to come out of this pose, bend that back leg a little bit. Let's have your right shin be parallel to the top edge of the mat. Inhale, lengthen, and exhale. Frame the foot with your hands and pull the heel and your chin as close together as you can. And you want to feel the stretch across your lower right side of the torso where your lower back attaches to your glutes. And then as you're ready to come out of the pose, lift on the inhale. We're going to work a little bit on strengthening the back leg, working on that glute medius muscle. Look to lift that knee off the mat and then bring it back down. You want to stay upright in the torso, not letting your body sway too much side to side. And just look to isolate that back leg, lift it off the mat as high as it will go, and then bring it back down with control. And getting ready to transition out of this sequence, crossing one ankle over the other, however is most comfortable for you. Make your way back into downward facing dog. Reconnect your hands, your feet with the mat. Getting ready for the other side. Inhale, left leg lifts, bend the knee, rotate the hip. And you might find that when you're rotating your hip, your shoulders start to move a little bit as well. You want to try to stay as still as possible in the rest of your body while you rotate that leg in wide circles, going both ways, lifting as you inhale, and then bringing the knee closer on the exhale. If you feel any fatigue or tension that might have built up in the hips, release it here, lifting up that back leg and step it forward, setting up for pigeon. Your knee is behind the right wrist, your back leg, ankle, knee, and hip in a straight line, point the back toes. Again, your front shin doesn't have to start off as parallel here. You can have the heel a little closer to your body. Make sure that your knee is on the left edge of the mat on this side and your foot is on the right edge. So there's enough room for your chest to be able to release down, and your hip is in that external rotation. You're letting the weight of your torso and the pelvis sink towards the ground, getting that hip to open up, breathing into that stretch wherever you're feeling it. As long as your knee is comfortable in this pose, but you are feeling a deep stretch, that's okay. Just breathe into the stretch and create that space with every inhale, releasing it into it as you exhale. Adding in the variations on this side if you took them on the last side. You might find that one side feels a little different. Again, if you want to spend some more time on one side, totally do that. As you can see, I'm working towards bringing the hands and the fingers together on this. Is not quite happening for me just yet. But again, working with your own body. And then sitting your hips back, your right leg is bent, your front shin is parallel to the top edge. Grabbing the foot with your hands, inhale, lengthen, exhale, folding. And really staying with your body here. Not letting your mind drift off. Feeling those muscles lengthening and stretching. And then lifting on the inhale. Let's get that back leg strengthening going. Your glute medius muscles, the muscles along the outer part of the glutes, lift them and lower that knee. And you should really feel that set of muscles along the outer part of your glute isolated and activating here. Then getting ready to come out of the sequence and getting back to downward dog. You can always add in a chaturanga as well if you like, or go straight into downward dog. And getting ready to start transitioning away from standing poses. Getting ready for a transition towards a malasana. This time we're going to step the feet behind the wrists. You can hop into that transition or step your feet behind the wrists. Once you're in your malasana, let your pelvis drop towards the ground, getting upright in the torso. And we'll grab that block, bring the block to the center of your mat. With your hands giving you support, perching your toe mounts on the block. You want the inner edges of your feet touching. And this is a great way to strengthen your ankles and the stabilizing muscles in your legs. Can be a lot for your knees. If you want to skip this part, you can totally do that and just come into malasana instead. If you want to lift the hands off the mat, maybe balancing your hands on the knees, maybe bring your palms together at your chest center. Again, working with your own range of motion, find what works best for you. Stabilize as much as you can here. We're going to set up for a crow. And the reason why we're using a block underneath the feet is to bring the ground a little bit closer to you. Press the elbows into the inner thighs. Start out with your elbows bent and then start to lean forward and look forward. When you look down, the body weight tends to drop. So you want to make sure your momentum is taking you forward and not down. Once your feet start to lift, point the toes. And again, once you've gotten used to this arm balance, if you want to take the block off, you can. Lean forward to the elbows, stack above the wrists, and keep looking ahead of the mat. You want to feel the hips active here, lifting up and then releasing down into malasana. If you want to spend some more time working on your crow, you can do that. Or if you want to work a little bit on hip mobility, from your deep squat, look to rotate or stay in your malasana. And then start to come out of the pose, take the hands behind you, lower the seat down. And if you want to grab a sip of water here, go ahead, making any adjustments that you need to. Taking a couple of breaths just to relax. And let's grab that block if you have it. Bring it to the space between your thighs. Walk the hands behind you, fingers facing forward. Lift the hips, coming into reverse tabletop. Look to lengthen your tailbone towards the knees. And as you exhale, bring the seat onto the mat. Turning your fingers away from you. Lean back, bend the elbows. Getting ready for the next move here, putting the block off to the side. We're going to lean back, picking up the right foot, shin on the left thigh. Flex the ankle and toes of the right foot, and then press into the hands. Bring your chest towards your shin. Try to rotate that hip away from the body so the knee's moving away from you, the foot's coming closer. If you want to add strength, you can lift the hips up. Figure 4 tabletop. Releasing out, lower the sit bones, and then taking your left foot to the right edge of the mat, setting up for a twist from here with both of your feet on the mat. If you prefer, if that's uncomfortable for your knee, you can straighten out the left leg and do your twist with the grounding leg straight. Right hand behind you and the left arm pressing against the thigh. And if you're going with the both knee bent variation, make sure your sit bones stay grounded. Wherever you are, you want to feel upright in the torso. Make sure you can breathe into your belly. Maybe adding a bind if your shoulders are feeling open, or staying exactly as you are with your left arm pressing against the leg, coming out of the twist on the inhale, moving into a counter twist as you exhale. Inhale, come back center, and then leaning back, coming out of that sequence, windshield wiper your hips. Bring the feet back to hip width distance, fingers facing away from you. Lean back, picking up the left leg, shin on the right thigh. Flex the ankle and toes. Bring your chest towards your shin, maybe walking that right foot a little closer. And breathing in the stretch. And then if you want to add strength, you can lift the hips. And think about bringing your hips, shoulders, and the grounding leg's knee at the same height. Coming out on the exhale, setting up for the twist on this side. Your right leg can be straight or bent, your choice. Both sit bones are grounded. Left hand goes back, right arm reaching up. And as you exhale, pull the arm across, twisting here. Taking your gaze over to the left side. Keep the shoulders relaxed and away from the ears. Keep your collarbones parallel to the ground. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, twist. Inhale, come back center. Exhale, moving into a counter twist. And inhale, coming back. Uncross the legs. Feet go mat width apart. Windshield wiper the hips side to side. And then from here, we're going to bring the right shin to be parallel to the top edge of the mat. Picking up the left leg from here, we're setting up into double pigeon. So you want your shins to stack on top of each other. We've been opening up into the hips. So your hips are ready for this. You can again grab your block. If you find that there's quite a bit of gap between that top leg and the bottom foot, you can bring a block in between for support and then choose to lean forward. You might find that your hip can relax once you lean forward. So again, choosing the variation here that feels best. Letting your body relax, settle into this deep hip opener. If you want to rest your forehead on the block, you can totally do that as well, and get as comfortable as you can here while you breathe. If you want to continue with chest and shoulder opening, you can link your hands together behind the body and straighten the arms as you lift them away from you. If that's a little too intense, you can grab hold of opposite elbows as well. And coming up and out of this pose, take the feet mat width, windshield wiper, just a way to neutralize those hips. And then setting up for the other side. Left shin parallel to the top edge of the mat, right foot on the left knee, stacking your shins, grabbing your block if needed, and letting your body come as far into this pose as it can today. Again, you might find that this side is a little different from the other. If you want to spend more time on any of these sides, totally fine to do that. Creating space with every inhale and letting your body settle into that space as you exhale. Adding that chest opener variation, either with your arms straight or bent and grabbing opposite elbows. Remember, you don't have to take every variation that is offered. Take the ones that you like, discard the ones you don't. Coming out of the pose as you inhale. Lean back, taking the feet mat width, windshield wiper. Let's bring your block in between your thighs. Lift the arms overhead without letting your feet lift off from here. We're going to bring the spine onto the mat. Letting your arms rest beside you, walk the feet closer, setting up for Setu Bandhasana. When you're ready from here, push into the hands and the feet, lifting your hips up, maybe rolling the shoulders underneath and interlacing the fingers together. Getting that opening through your front body here, relaxing into your glutes, lifting your hips and the chest higher. Lots of space for the back of the neck, pushing down through the head and the shoulders. Releasing as you exhale, bring the hands beside the body. If you want to, you can come into full wheel this time, lifting your hips, lifting your head and shoulders off the mat. If you want to go further, you can lift onto your toe mounts. If full wheel is not in your practice, you can do another round of bridge. You can also remove the block if you prefer. If you're in wheel, look to straighten out the arms, and when you're ready to come down, do so with control. Bring the shoulders down first, then the spine, then the hips. And bring the arms around the knees, curl into a tight ball, release your spine from that back bend. And then resting your head and shoulders, setting up for a basic inversion, arms resting beside the body, palms in the mat, pushing up through the heels. If you want, you can lift the hands as well, letting your fingers reach up. Wrists, elbows, and shoulders stacking. Maybe going into a passive variation of this pose with the block underneath your sacrum, lifting up into your legs. You can bring the block a little higher, coming into a supported bridge variation. This is your time to play around with your practice if you want to take this pose any further. Letting your hands support the back of the sacrum. If you want to transition from here, coming in towards a shoulder stand, you can take that transition from here, or you can bring your hips down, coming into this pose however you like. If you're craving a different pose or variation altogether, you can totally take that option here as well. For those of you going into shoulder stand, pointing your toes, keeping the legs straight as you bring the feet down behind you. Giving your lower back support once your feet touch down. Maybe bringing the knees by the ears, closing out your hearing for a moment. And really taking your time. You want to keep the movements as relaxed as possible. There's never any rush, especially in this part of the class. And letting your spine, your seat come down onto the mat, wrapping the arms around the shins. And let's continue on a little bit of mobility for the hips. Since today's focus has been on opening into the chest and the shoulders as well as the hips. Finishing off today's sequence. You can have your legs supported if you want, or letting your legs flow on their own. Let's find our way into a happy baby from here. Pulling your knees down towards you, maybe grabbing onto your big toes, letting your seat lift, taking the feet out as far as they can. And from here, this is the pose that we've been kind of working on or getting up to in today, opening into the hips and the shoulders. If you want, you can try to pull the knees towards you, pressing the back of the arms against the back of the legs, and then maybe the hands reach towards the mat. If you want to go further, you can cross one ankle over the other and let the back of the hands press against your glutes. Again, if you're not here today, that's perfectly fine. I offer that as a variation for you to try. Never any compulsion to come into a pose that feels uncomfortable or painful in any way. You can start to make your way from here back to happy baby, and then getting ready for that last pose for today, shavasana. If you want to maybe grab a sip of water, make any adjustments that you need to make sure you're comfortable, that you're feeling relaxed. And letting your body find space. And letting yourself relax on your mat. And finding as much space around you as you need to. Allowing the outer edges of your feet to roll out. Turning your arm bones so your palms are facing up. And closing the eyes if you haven't already. And feeling your breath and your heartbeat slowing down. Feeling everything in the body getting heavier and sinking towards the earth. Feeling the support of the ground underneath you. And releasing the weight of your body into that support. Everything that you had to do for your practice is done. And letting yourself relax. And letting yourself drift away into shavasana while the benefits of your practice sink in. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed that class. Stay in shavasana as long as you like. Thank you, and namaste.